Architecture critic Louise Huxtable published a landmark article in the New York Times on October 13, 1965. The headline read,
Urban renewal threatens historic buildings in Salem, Mass. Foes fear plans will mar old New England heritage.
In the 1960s, urban renewal was in full swing across the country, and there were not many cities that were not impacted by urban renewal policies of the 60s.
The urban renewal plan, which was many years in the making, would have demolished 82% of the buildings in the historic downtown area of the city.
And it would have been catastrophic in terms of the museum. The plans I remember seeing would have put a road right through the Asian garden at the museum.
And in the process, the city would have lost its identity as represented by its history.
I think the whole spirit of this city would have been fundamentally destroyed.
There were many efforts made to change the plan. However, each of those efforts was unsuccessful. But luckily, Louise Huxtable, of course, who had a national reputation, well-deserved, summered in the adjacent community, Marblehead, and that gave her a bird's eye view of what was happening in the city of Salem.
You could see her going into the office of her editor at the New York Times, as she described it, and saying, "Do you know what's happening in Salem? We need to do something about it."
In her New York Times article, Louise Huxtable denounced urban renewal efforts in Salem.
Professional critics of Salem's plan feel that it could not do a more effective job of isolating and alienating Salem's historic past if it had set out specifically to do so.
I think one of the things that upset her most was the disruptive effect of highways slicing through a neighborhood, or shopping centers or new structures being dropped onto a place next to a historic structure to which it had no relation.
That really is one of the important things that Louise Huxtable looked at, which was how to have the historic context inform the new buildings in a way that was genuine and authentic.
And she said that she was not going to take no for an answer, and made sure that the article that eventually emerged was going to be there for a lot of people to see and to react to.
Having someone step up and speak out was a boon to the local preservationists who were doing the work, to see that this was a national issue and that the history of this place was important to a national audience.
And we were able to change the plan from a demolition plan to a preservation plan.
She mentions Salem as, in her view, being the one instance where she was able to have the greatest influence and actually change the course of events and play a critical role in that.
The preservation of those buildings and that history is, in my opinion, why the city of Salem has succeeded.
It became a model for other cities. It's rare to see such treasures unearthed and then preserved and given new life through adaptive reuse.
This was such an important part of Salem's history that we really wanted to commemorate that article. And Ada Louise's character really gives us a good vehicle for talking about advocacy and looking at how that impacts the Salem that we love today. We are looking at issues of economics and preservation, sustainability and preservation, and how to empower people and groups and institutions to be advocates and stand up for buildings.
There is a meaning beyond the saving of the buildings, and there is a meaning beyond the economic success coming from the savings of those buildings. And that is the basic premise of preservation, which is that we all need a sense of where we have come from in order to be able to understand where we are headed.